A couple nights ago, I was watching as Bitcoin price fell precipitously to around $56,000, and I was expecting my altcoins to get completely wrecked, but they weren't. In fact, altcoins have been showing a little bit of relative strength lately compared to what I thought they would be doing when Bitcoin fell. Normally, when Bitcoin falls in a very volatile way, Bitcoin dominance goes up. That did not happen this time. Instead, what happened is Bitcoin dominance went down while Bitcoin price was falling. And so what I'd like to look at is this an anomaly? Or perhaps has this happened before? What is the correlation between Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin price? Let's try to settle that in this video. This is crypto simulation theory. I am the Gaussian snake, and I would love to encourage you to join my free Telegram group, the Snack Pit, for daily technical analysis, price alerts, and a strong community. Just a reminder, nothing I talk about in this video is financial advice, so please do your own research. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, I overlaid Bitcoin price in orange with dominance on the chart here. And you can see as Bitcoin price was falling, so was dominance. And this is not something that I really expected. You know, the popular narrative with Bitcoin dominance is that when Bitcoin price goes up in a volatile way or when Bitcoin price goes down in a volatile way, usually you're going to see dominance rise. But since that's not what we're seeing, what I'd like to do is just kind of zoom out and see how tightly correlated Bitcoin price is to dominance, and if this is like a myth or if this is something that we should take more seriously and maybe what we just experienced was an anomaly. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So if we look at the correlation on just a daily time frame to kind of look at what's been happening recently, we can see that the correlation that is sort of hypothesized, which is as Bitcoin price goes up or Bitcoin price goes down in a volatile way, dominance also goes up either way. So we would hope to see like stuff in the green or red zone. Either way, we would have a strong relationship one way or the other, either inversely correlated in the red zone or directly correlated in the green zone. This is the price goes up, dominance goes up. Price goes down, dominance goes down. That's the green zone. The red zone is price goes up, dominance goes down. Price goes down, dominance goes up. Stuff in the middle is really neither here nor there. And you can see on our latest move, there was actually a pretty, somewhat positive correlation, but it didn't make it into the green zone, meaning price was going down and dominance was going down. And this is trending down now. I don't really want to look at the daily time frame for this study because I feel like, we are going to run into anomalies. I'd like to kind of zoom out and maybe start with a weekly time frame and we can kind of work our way back and see just how tightly correlated these things are. Now, right away, we're going from 2021 all the way to now. I see something very fascinating in this chart. Now, there is a slightly strong correlation according to my study here. We spend fair amounts of time when Bitcoin is having very volatile movements, like right here is the 2021 distribution phase. There was a very strong inverse correlation to dominance. And you can see while Bitcoin price was topping out here, dominance was falling like a rock. So we had price up, dominance down, inverse correlation. But dominance spends a lot of time not really doing much that related with Bitcoin. It's during a lot of these volatile movements. But here's another example where price was starting to actually, it looks like level out here a little bit. Price was going slightly down, but dominance was actually moving slightly up. So you had another incidence of inverse correlation, and we had another inverse correlation all the way from March of 23 till about November of 23, interestingly enough. So this is suggesting that dominance just does the opposite of what Bitcoin does, or maybe grows at a slightly slower rate when it gets a little higher up. So I do find that to be kind of interesting, and for the first time in I don't even know how long, we'll have to look back and see, we now have a positive correlation between dominance and price, meaning price is going down and dominance is going down, and we're in the green zone. Let's zoom out and see when the last time we were in the green zone was. Wow, in a very similar cycle. Hey, look at this. Dominance spent actually quite a bit of time in the green zone. This was in July of 2017, which was just 6 months before Bitcoin's massive top, and you can see that whatever Bitcoin was doing, Bitcoin was going parabolic here, right? It was. And dominance was kind of sideways, and then you can see that as Bitcoin price dropped, dominance also dropped. So we had a strong correlation. As Bitcoin was going up, dominance was going up, which makes sense. But in this case, as Bitcoin was dumping, so was dominance. So this is the last known instance of that happening, and it lasted. The correlation between Bitcoin price and dominance lasted all the way till January of 2019. Remember, Bitcoin price is the orange. Right here at the floor of Bitcoin's price, we finally saw a deviation where at that point dominance in Bitcoin had kind of decoupled a little bit. And it wasn't until we got into late 2019, between August of 2019 and January of 2020, that we saw an inverse relationship. So, we had Bitcoin's price kind of going down and dominance was going more or less Bitcoin's price was going down and dominance was going more or less sideways, and the two were not very strongly correlated at that point. They were inversely correlated very strongly. So one going up, the other going down. And it doesn't look like we have data that can really track this before 2016. So this is interesting, right? So it has been nearly more than 5 years since we've been in the green zone. And we know that last time we got up in the green zone, we saw that dominance moved with price, right? So if price went down, dominance went down. If price went up, dominance went up. And we're starting to see the emergence of similar behavior again. And, this is interesting. Something definitely worth noting. And the study does say that the correlation between Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance is slightly strong. And you can see that in the chart. It does spend most of its time in the inverse region, meaning, one does the opposite of the other. But during strong movements, what's interesting now, though, this is a strong down movement, but we could see that in 2018, right? If we go back to here, we had a strong down movement, but Bitcoin dominance also dropped. Now we saw Bitcoin dominance go up right over here just before this relief rally. So the correlation is pretty strong during these volatile movements up or down. Okay. But we've seen, other instances where Bitcoin price might have been not doing a whole lot of interesting stuff and dominance was going in a different direction. So yeah, let's zoom out to the 2-week and see what data that shows. On the 2-week, they look totally decoupled. So, we've only spent, again, from, it looks like January 2018, the beginning of the bear market, to about, it looks like January 2020, we had a very strong direct correlation between Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance. Again, it's not 100%, right? You're talking 81% to 100%, correlation. But as we said, when Bitcoin was going through that really strong bear market, it looks like dominance in that particular situation was also experiencing a nice sharp drop, right? And then, of course, there was some decoupling that happened where the two were not doing anything that similar, and then we got down into the red zone. This was in December of 2020, when Bitcoin price was going up, the dominance started to drop. And so this is where you were seeing your alt seasons coming. And actually, what's really fascinating is right now, on the 2-week time frame, we are seeing an inverse correlation, meaning that on a 2-week time frame, Bitcoin price is dropping, as you can see, but dominance is rising. And that's what we generally expect, is that dominance would go up when Bitcoin price is dropping. But then dominance itself looks kind of questionable and a little sketchy. I want to look at it a little bit more closely as to how strong it actually is. But on the whole, on a 2-week time frame, there's a very weak correlation. And if we go to the monthly time frame, I'm sure there's not even enough data, okay, to even analyze it, so we won't even analyze it. So the strongest correlation does appear to be on the weekly time frame. Slightly strong is about all we get, though. So it just means there's plenty of times where Bitcoin price and dominance kind of decouple from each other. Now, what would be interesting is to pull up a relative volatility index and kind of see if periods of low RVI, where the volatility isn't really doing a whole lot, are corresponding to some of these, middle zones where there's not much of a correlation at all, and periods of high RVI, maybe you see more stuff in the red or the green zone. So let's go ahead and pull that indicator up and see what we find. And that is exactly what we find. I'm seeing here this period of red where we got down to almost zero, so a complete inverse correlation. you can see that in that time we got a nice big RVI spike to 80, right? And this is on dominance, right? So dominance spiked up huge at a time when Bitcoin was entering into its parabolic rally. And then you can see over here we had a red spike, and this was right around the time that RVI had bottomed, where Bitcoin price had been just exiting a very strong downtrend. Okay, and if you go over here to February of 2021, Bitcoin was in a huge uptrend. The dominance fell off a cliff, and you can see the RVI really bottomed out there. And again here this is 2019, late 2019, same thing, right? So, and then also when you had a very strong positive correlation, RVI was way up here, Bitcoin price was going up very rapidly. So this is saying Bitcoin, the correlation between Bitcoin price and Bitcoin dominance is only strong when you have very sharp price movements, just like we suspected. But sometimes it can be a direct correlation, meaning that you have a sharp price movement upward and dominance goes up. You have a sharp price movement downward and dominance goes up if you're in the red zone. Or you can have the exact opposite happen, which happened in 2018, and it's happening now on the weekly, which is you have price going down and dominance going down with it. So in 2018, when that happened, all throughout, starting in January, when we started to really see this strong correlation, that was all very bearish activity. Well, it does make you wonder kind of what's going on right now. Now, I don't think you can say, oh, we're going to enter into another period like 2018. We're about to have a huge bear market. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it is worth noting that we're in the green zone, meaning that whatever price does, dominance is probably going to follow. So if price continues to move down and we're in this green zone, dominance is also going to move down. So, yeah, I mean, what could possibly happen? I mean, maybe we stay up here for a little while and enter into some more neutral territory, and that could correspond to our altcoin season. This is a potential thought. I decided to pull up another indicator, the stochastic oscillator, to see if there's maybe some indication of when we achieve high periods of correlation, either positive or negative. And you can see that when the stochastic oscillator was at these pretty high levels, we were in the red zone with inverse correlation. And so these are periods where basically Bitcoin price is in an uptrend, right? But it's having an increasing chance of entering into some kind of downtrend because it's been up here for so long. And we were still in the red zone even in October of 23 with this spike in the stochastic oscillator, which then went down all the way into January. And this is where we start to see us entering into the green zone. You can see here too, stochastic oscillator during the bear market was spending some time at these pretty low levels. Now, it didn't mean anything over here, but in this transition point, coming out of stochastic low to stochastic high, we entered into the red zone. And as you can see here, coming out of this stochastic high into a little bit of a lower, we entered into the red zone. I don't know how reliable this is, to be completely honest with you, but here's another case of it. In November to January of 2020, January 2021, as soon as we had this really volatile move in stochastic oscillation, which also, and again, this is not Bitcoin price, this is dominance, we can see that corresponded to a negative correlation with Bitcoin price. So dominance was going down, price was going up. Okay, and you can see this plays out not super often, right? Most of the time we're kind of in the gray area. And then you had this really long period where we were just kind of all over the place, to be honest with you, and I don't find any meaningful association with stochastic oscillator here. So I don't know if we're grasping at straws with that one, but definitely can see a few interesting data points. Now, as far as dominance itself is concerned, I'm hearing a lot of calls that it could go to 60% or higher. I'm not really seeing that. Like, I want to believe it, I want to believe it's true because there are some metrics that show some strength on the weekly, but I'm not sure that I do. Like, look at how dominance price has sort of started to logarithmically flatten out. So I feel like it's been approaching this yellow trend line, which I put in here a long time ago, and it looks kind of like it's on life support, honestly. It doesn't look super strong. Like, do I think it could have another push to the upside? Sure, I could see that, but do I think it's going to like rocket off to 66%? I think that's quite unlikely, especially if dominance doesn't cool off in some kind of meaningful way. So let's take a look at some other technicals around dominance to see kind of like what might be going on underneath the hood. So one of the signs of strength in dominance is, saying that, hey, dominance still may have some strength. It had this death cross in December of 2023 to go along with this drop that happened. But then dominance has been climbing up ever since. And so the 50-week whole moving average, while it's currently below the 100-week whole moving average, looks like it's getting ready for a golden cross, possibly by the end of this month, which would be bullish for dominance. If that happens, it would indicate some bullish momentum. Whole moving averages are a lot more current than simple moving averages. They're not as lagging. So golden crosses and death crosses with whole moving averages mean a whole lot more than they do with simple moving averages. The simple moving averages are just so lagging. So this is kind of a point for bullishness for dominance. But even if it does get this bullish cross, which I think is quite likely, I don't expect it to be very long-lived, right? So I don't see it like lasting for like a super long time. You can see that the last time, we had a very bullish formation. This was in 2022, when you get this bowling, like it just looks like a bowl comes up and you got this really strong golden cross with a lot of divergence. We're not really seeing that now. We're seeing a little bit of convergence, and this is not looking like it's just ready to loop its way up in a really aggressive way. So I think we're kind of in the end days of Bitcoin dominance being bullish. Another sign of potential incoming bearishness is the fact that on the wave trend oscillator, we have hit some, what I would call, if you can call dominance overbought, I mean, there's such a thing. We've hit this now 5 times where we've gotten these divergences from being overbought. 5 times. And we didn't quite get a red dot out of it yet, coming up into this zone. We didn't get up maybe up high enough, but we have triggered the red dot very infrequently. Last time we triggered it was in August of 2019, September of 2018. Usually these indicate pretty significant divergences, but not always. As you can see here in November 2015. We had divergences every single time. I guess we're waiting for confirmation on this one here. But Bitcoin dominance has been up in this overbought region since March of 2023. I mean, that's a long time. I mean, yes, it's dipped down below, but it looks like it's putting in slightly lower highs each time it comes back in. So, if we do come down here, maybe we come up again, but I don't think we're going to come back up into this red zone for a little while. We might have a nice dip into an altcoin season. I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen, but it's just something to note that we don't typically have a lot of points where we hit this upper red zone. Generally, you get more of a bullish divergence when you're down in the green zone. Let's pull this up on the daily just to see what it looks like. So on the daily, we are getting into sold territory, right, where we typically see a bullish reversal. This is what I'm saying. I do think that dominance has a chance to go higher. I just don't see it rocketing off and doing something crazy. I think that momentum has mostly kind of been sucked out of the system by now. And you can see there's a very regular pattern of oscillations, and we had a nice run up all the way from about, looks like we had a double bottom on the 16th and 24th of March, and then we put in our high on April 14th, and we've been just trending down ever since. So I would anticipate some reversal here that could correspond to an increase in dominance. Now, whether that happens, and looking at our correlation tracker between Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance, yeah, it's hard to say exactly what that's going to mean. Is that going to mean that dominance is going to go up while price goes up? Or is dominance going to go up while price goes down? And we're going to see a weakening of the correlation that we just had, which is where dominance went down and price went down. It's hard to say exactly. This doesn't predict correlation. Now, zooming in on dominance, I will say that it is looking a little bit bearish. Now, we haven't officially gotten the bearish confirmation. We usually get like a little plus symbol in here of a cross when that happens. Like that happened here. Green went above red. I think we will print one soon, though. Like you can see how and the red and green are above the price, which is bearish. I mean, if you look at this from April to where we are now, this looks very bearish, right? Like just straight down for dominance with some rallies along the way. And our Gunnar EMA is now sitting above us, which is kind of a bearish sign. So we could see, ideally we would probably see this rally back up, but would it get rejected again? That's the big question. Let's pull up some more stuff. Now on the weekly time frame, dominance is still technically bullish. It's above both of its Gunnar EMAs, although it is starting to test the green EMA. It's already tested the red EMA a couple times, even fell through here, and that looks like it inflected the Gaussian channel from concave up in green and tight to starting to widen again and go concave down. That is a sign of slowing bullish momentum and bearish momentum starting to enter into a bigger way. And the last time this happened, of course, in a much more dramatic way, we were fighting with the, green Gaussian channel median line. We finally just fell right through in late 2020. And that did correspond to a period of altcoin strength. And then we had this huge run up by Bitcoin dominance into 2021. Altcoins took a little bit of a back seat. And then during Bitcoin's distribution phase, where it was chopping around, man, dominance just completely collapsed and stayed down for a really long time until fairly recently, right, in November 2022. And we got this kind of weak run up by dominance, right? It's not even that impressive. We've been trying to hold the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band median line. We are at it right now. It looks like we are holding it successfully. So, we could see another breakout. I mean, the Bollinger Bands are not tight, so this is just kind of ranging in here. None of these moves are dramatic, so we could see another move up. Maybe we retest this high at 57, and I mean, 57 could end up being the high. There's no guarantee we break that high. We might not. We could stay range bound and start to really roll over. So, yeah, I don't know how much more gas dominance has left in the tank. ADX and DI shows just a weakening bull trend. I mean, you can see a pattern of lower highs. Like, we get highs, and you can see that the ADX has just kind of been oscillating. Like, it hasn't really been that, like, it's been strong. An ADX at 40 is still strong, but it hasn't really done anything super impressive. Just kind of been ranging. Gaussian filter is certainly not convincing of increased bullishness. It looks like it's about to print another bearish cross here, which would be a short signal if it goes further down. It's just not, dominance just not looking great this time around compared to previous cycles. And that's a good thing for our crypto space. But I have a hard time seeing this rocket off right here. It just doesn't seem like we have the momentum. The bull bear power trend is showing signs of weakness too. We had our high in October of 2023. We really cratered to January. We had a great altcoin season, and these bounces have not been impressive. We are literally just going sideways. The bulls for dominance have been in control here and there, but if you compare this to previous cycles, dominance has certainly seen better days. I mean, this is an impressive run up right here, okay? But it looks like everything reached a crescendo in October 2023, and this is why I'm saying I think dominance is kind of on its last legs, and I think it probably is going to kick the bucket relatively soon. I'd say June if I had to throw a month out there. I'd say late spring, early summer, which I've been saying all along for altcoins. That's kind of what I would say. The Keltner channel for dominance is widening, which is generally not a good sign. We have penetrated the top of the Keltner channel several times, more often in the beginning when we were really strong, less often now. So everything I'm seeing is just pointing to dominance weakening. Even the tricks bubble for dominance doesn't look good. This is actually bearish, folks. Like, this could, if this sees follow through, which is actually quite likely, dominance is going to fall even more. So looking at this tricks bubble makes me think that the most likely direction for dominance is down. I think there's a good chance that if we see follow through here, we could see dominance start to fall into the Gaussian channel, which would really confirm the bearishness, the rising wedge, and you can see that there's definitely evidence to suggest that that is exactly what is likely to happen. I mean, look at this. This does not look bullish for dominance. So, well, we got to piece this together. Here's a nice head and shoulders pattern that actually played out in early 2023. Dominance just looks like it's pretty much peaked. 57 point whatever percent could end up being the high for now. We could see a resurgence in dominance later on in the year. I would expect that there would be one. There has been one every single time. People take their altcoin money and roll it back into Bitcoin, but yeah, I'm not impressed with it. Really not. So I think this is good news for those of you who hold altcoins. And if you're holding a large position in Bitcoin, it wouldn't be the worst idea to consider hedging against that by maybe buying some altcoins with your Bitcoin, especially alt Bitcoin pairs that look like they're valuable. And I did a whole video on this one. Maybe I can link it at the end of this one so you can see it. Yeah, I think I've seen enough. So in conclusion, we answered 2 questions today. Is there a high correlation between Bitcoin price and Bitcoin dominance? On a daily time frame or on a 2-week or higher time frame, no. On a weekly time frame, there is some correlation, which usually the problem is, though, it can be a positive correlation, although most often it's a negative one. So meaning that most often what happens is you get a very volatile drop by Bitcoin price, you get a very sharp increase by dominance, or you get a very sharp increase by Bitcoin price, or it doesn't even have to be sharp, okay? Doesn't have to be. It could be, but let's just say a sharp increase by Bitcoin price, and you get an increase by dominance being a positive correlation, decrease, decrease, increase, increase. So there's a somewhat strong correlation between the two, but there are plenty of time periods where the two are not very correlated at all. So I guess the take-home message really is don't make any assumptions about Bitcoin dominance and what it has to do or what it doesn't have to do. We see that when Bitcoin price is parabolic, we're going to see an increase in dominance. When Bitcoin price is absolutely tanking through the floor, we could see a decrease in dominance. So what we just saw now has happened before. So there are some narratives going on out there about the importance of Bitcoin dominance, like it's some kind of, godlike indicator, and I don't think so. I don't think so. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that while you should pay attention to dominance, you shouldn't obsess over it, because then you're going to miss the big picture. Now, we also looked at Bitcoin dominance from a technical perspective and found that it looks quite weak right now, and it looks ready to puke any moment to the downside. And we could already be in that moment right now and not even know it, where it's really weakening. And we are seeing some signs of that potentially happening. 57 point, what was that top that we looked at? It was like close to 58%. Or, well, we'll call 57%, 57.07%. I did say that 56 to 58% was kind of my base case for potential top. I've said that before. I've also acknowledged that we could get to 60 and that in a crazy state, we could have gotten to 66 at some point. At this point, though, after seeing this kind of action, seeing how sideways this looks, looking kind of weak, I think the top may already be in for dominance. And I would actually be surprised to see it take out this high at this point, although anything is possible. So my base case is that May is probably the last month where you're going to see dominance at these levels. And then as we head into the end of the month, maybe it may not even make it to the end of the month, but certainly as we head into June, I anticipate dominance is likely going to fall and fall into the green Gaussian channel. I feel like we could already be in that process and not even know it. So that's kind of my base case. This is really strong for altcoins. Again, this is not financial advice, but if I were holding a really large position in Bitcoin or a really large cash position, I would probably want to spend that money on altcoins. And I would probably take my Bitcoin and spend it on altcoins that are showing strength against Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, thanks for joining me in the crypto simulation. Again, I'm the Gaussian Snake. Nothing I said in this video is intended to be financial advice. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video if you have any personal thoughts about dominance you'd like to share, and join our free Telegram group, the Snack Pit, for daily technical analysis, price alerts, and to be part of a really strong community of like-minded individuals like you. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.